a gun in the face.
Then all of a sudden, they all kind of lined up. They pointed their guns at me. And this is the point where I thought, I'm going to die today.
Started 2 years of horror for an American in Venezuela.
They said, you need to give us your phone and get ready because you're coming with us.
I'm Becky Bruce, and I spent a year researching and piecing together Josh and Tammy Holt's story about their ordeal in a notorious prison.
That's when everything started to turn bad. We had another pound on the door. Boom, boom, boom. And there was the police once again.
You can binge all of the episodes of Hope in Darkness on kslpodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to Project Recovery, a podcast about addiction, but more importantly, it's about recovery. My name is Casey Scott, and if you know somebody who needs some help, have them do what I did. Call Pinnacle Recovery Center. They got me on my road to recovery, and they can help you out as well. We got Matt Woolley over here, and our guest today is Jumpin' Jay. That's what I call him. I know him personally because he was the program director for me and currently is at Pinnacle Recovery. We're going to talk to him in just a second. But Dr. Matt, I want to tell you about this because life's got a way of keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So the other day, I'm out doing my job. I'm going to detox facilities. I'm talking to everybody, and I'm getting the accolades from Facebook and my family members and people, and they're just saying, "Hey, you're doing good," and things seem to be going well. And for a moment, I was like, whew, "Yeah, you know what it is? Life is going pretty."
Oh, that's a mistake. You don't want to think that.
And that's what they say in recovery. As soon as you say you got it, you don't got it.
Right.
But I took
it's
it.
okay once in a while to take a little breath and
Yeah.
absorb it, right?
So I took a deep breath, and then it was my turn to pick up the kids from school. So I pull up to school, and Frankie comes down first, and she's just a ball of sunshine. She's radiant.
Yep.
Just happy little kid. And my son, and I see him, and he's got tears coming down his eyes, and he's kind of kicking his feet. And so he gets in the car, and I go, "Hey, bud, what's going on?" And Frankie jumps in. "The boys were teasing him, Dad." And I go, "Well, hey, what's going on, man? What are they teasing you about?" And some kid was going, "Your dad's got a disease. Your dad's got a disease."
Oh, man.
And I was like, and it just took my breath away. I was like, I don't know.
That's rough.
I said, "Hey, bud, I'm doing okay." And I said, "What did you say?" He goes, I didn't know what to say, Dad." He goes, "Do you have a disease?" And I go, "Yeah. I had a problem with drinking, and I'm fixing it, and I'm doing better." I said, "What did you do?" He goes, "Well, I went and told my teacher." And I said, "These kids are saying my dad's got a disease." And the teacher goes, "Yeah, but your dad's doing better now." And this is a hard conversation to have with a 8-year-old boy,
Right.
And so I had to go and take him back and sit him at my ex-wife's house and sat down with my ex-wife and talked to him and tried to say, "Hey, look, I'm not mad at this little kid for saying that. I'm not mad at his parents because I'm not mad at anybody. This is a situation that where life comes back and rears its head." And I go, I don't want my son to have to defend my actions of things that I have done, and this is not fair for an 8-year-old to have to do this. And, I went home and I just sat down and I was like, man.
That's heavy stuff.
I thought, man, I just 2 hours ago, life was
on top of the world.
I was swimming, just having a great time and thriving. And it was a good reminder that,
Well, did you talk about how you want him to respond to that? Because it could happen again, right?
I said next time he does, just say, "Hey, look, you don't know my dad, and my dad's going through some stuff, and he's doing a lot better." I said, "Son, I will come talk to this kid. I'll come explain it to him." I said, "I'll come sit down in your school and sit down and talk to them about this," because what it really is, and I hate to use the word ignorance, but it's ignorance on all parts.
Yeah, people are very misinformed about substance abuse, alcoholism, all these sorts of problems. Is it a disease? Is it not a disease? What does it do? Yeah, it's a lack of information creates ignorance, and ignorance creates social problems. When we don't understand something, we develop all sorts of crazy misinformed ideas about things, which ideas prompt our behaviors. So if our ideas are misinformed, our behaviors are going to be misinformed as well.
But when you tell an 8-year-old your dad's got a disease,
Yeah.
I mean, he's, you know.
You weren't mad at the kid? Come on.
No, I mean, no.
Really?
No, because I don't think the kid came up with this concept by himself.
No,
and I think his
probably not.
parents were probably talking about me and
Right, because the kid, I mean, no offense to you, he wouldn't know who you are.
yeah,
Right.
Well, I did MC their lip sync.
Oh, well, okay, I stand corrected.
You know, I mean, and so I mean, I'm a
But
part
their
of.
parents probably
Yeah, and I don't know the context of what they were
disparaged
talking about, you know, and maybe
yeah.
that was a way to say, you know, maybe telling he's got a disease versus he's an alcoholic.
yeah.
One sounds better than the other, and no, I'm not mad at anybody. I'm
And
not.
you didn't instruct your son to
Punch him in the face?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well, I think the
we
idea
say
of-
hugs, not drugs, at my house. Up with the hope, down with the dope.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Sweet. I feel that love right now sitting here.
So, no, but
I think that's a good idea. Maybe you ought to volunteer to do like an assembly.
Well, then my
We
daughter.
could go. We could bring our show and do an assembly at the school.
I know they're just getting ready to start the DARE program, and so I said, "Hey, look, I'll come and talk about that. You know, I'll do whatever you want." But no, I wasn't mad at them. I wasn't mad at anybody. I was mad at myself that once again that my actions in the past are coming back.
It's a
To
great,
haunt me.
It's a great reminder that all of our actions, big and small, have consequences, right? And I'm sorry for your son, but you know what? I will say this to kind of reframe that. That's a character building opportunity for your son.
Yeah, and
You
I don't know if I handled it the best, but I tried.
I think it sounds like you did fine, and you and your ex-wife showed some unity in parenting and sat down and talked to him about it, and you gave him some suggestions of things he could say, and I'm sure you validated his response, which was to go talk to the teacher instead of taking the kid out, like a lot of kids. Well, back in our day, I don't know, kids don't do it as much anymore, but they might have started a fight,
Yeah,
something
no,
like
they're not
that.
fighting now. Now they're on the same team at dodgeball.
Yeah, and so they're buddies again, and so I mean I think that was a character building opportunity for your son, because you don't build character or strength of personality without going through difficult things. You just don't.
I just don't want my son to have to defend me, my actions.
Right.
I don't think that's fair for an 8-year-old.
Well, I think that in a year or two, what people are going to know about you is just this ongoing success of bringing the word out to people and providing help and opportunity. Like you're more in the positive realm than the negative realm.
And that's the goal.
farther we get away from what happened to you in the past, the more people are going to remember you for what you're doing now.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get on to the show. I'm excited about today.
I was a little disappointed. I thought that was going to be more fun.
No,
story. That was
it
a
wasn't.
downer.
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
just telling you.
But, our
right
guest
now.
today is an amazing guy. He's a guy that I look up to in recovery. His
Yeah?
name is Joel Huff. He's the program director at Pinnacle.
Well, I've heard you talk about him before.
And the way
He's really more attractive than you.
Oh, and younger.
And younger. He's a lot younger than
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
He's like Casey Scott 2.0.
Yeah. I can see that.
And so this is how we greet each other every time we see each other at Pinnacle Recovery. I'll walk in the room, and Joel, you will say,
Television's Casey Scott.
"Everybody, look who it is! It's off Broadway, Joel Huff." Because that's our claim to fame to this point right now. Is that he was in an off Broadway play. I was once on television.
Love
and
it.
we both kind of. But when I saw
Celebrating the past.
Yeah.
Just one off-Broadway play. I mean, that sells it a little short.
yeah.
I think.
But Joel is, when I sat down and I saw it in his groups and the way he talked about his recovery and how fun and animated he was and the way he treated every member, every client in Pinnacle Recovery with respect, I just was like, that's the guy I want to be like. I want to be like Jumpin' Jay Joel.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great compliment.
You are. I think the way you interact, the way you carry yourself, and the way you relate to the clients is second to none. And I'm not saying that just because you're here. I've said that about
You
you
make me cry,
all the
Casey.
time, and I think you're an amazing human being. But you've had a rough road to get to where you are, I guess would be fair to say.
For sure, man. For
So
sure.
where does the story of Jumpin' Jay start?
How much time do we have?
We got about an hour.
Okay. Well, I'll just briefly just say where my respect comes from. I think it's definitely empathy for the clients, but I think the way I look at it is that it takes a lot of skill, charisma, persistence, and courage to earn a seat in a residential treatment center. You got to be going after it with a lot of will behind it, and then to stay against your will and work on your own demons. I don't know how anybody could not respect that. And I think it disarms them when they hear me talk about it like that. They're like, everybody hates me. Mm-hmm. This guy doesn't. And I think that gets their ears a little open right off the bat, maybe.
I think you said something that's important for people, because since I work at Pinnacle Recovery and a lot of people call me and they want to find out more about a program, a lot of people think it's easy to get into a recovery center. It's not that easy. There's got to be a lot of things that fall in line to get you in there. I mean, we're talking money, we're talking insurance, we're talking job, we're talking family, and that's not even mentioning the client.
Yeah, for sure. And I always look at it too as there's no accidents either. Like the people that are in there at the same time, the timing of it, the people you were in there with, the people that come to our treatment center, all of that is there's something magical that can happen, at least at our center, I feel like, with the groups that storm and perform and come together and start to work together and get it. And, I just love to see the headlights come back on,
But when were your headlights dimming?
Okay, so
let's set the stage. So how old of a guy are you?
Like my first drink?
No, right now.
I am 42.
Okay.
Yeah. 42.
And where are you from?
I am from Utah.
Grew up in?
I was born in Payson. I went to Murray High.
Okay.
And then I went to, I've lived kind of other places in the country as well.
Mm-hmm. Chicago, off Broadway.
Yeah. Well, that is a little bit off Broadway. But.
It is. I don't know. Do you want me to start with
that's great.
the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, so I first drink, 11 years old, camping with my friend and his parents, and he had an uncle that was dipping into the sauce. He's now like a bishop and has had a lot of remorse. And the friend that I went on the camping trip with, he's the first friend I lost to this disease when we were 21, a heroin overdose, Cody Nielsen. Anyway, he poured some Jack Daniels in our Coke, and then instantly I was like, this is for me. After they went to bed, I went and found his bottle, and we finished the bottle in the tent. And, that's where I feel like maybe I was a little bit genetically predisposed to have this problem, because not a lot of people taste something that's horrible, get the feeling, and then search for it throughout the night at 11. You know what I mean?
And the fact to be at 11, you went, yeah, this is it. I dig this.
Yeah. And then from then on, it was like whenever we could steal some from somebody's house or whatever. I don't know. We were an interesting bunch over there in Murray. We were trying to get high on whatever we could, whenever we could.
Do you think your friend group kind of gravitated together around that desire to get intoxicated?
Yeah, it was definitely a major part of it. I think we that and fighting probably were the two.
Sounds like my childhood.
Sounds like what I think of Murray being like. No, I'm just kidding.
Straight up from the west side. Yeah, we thought we were pretty tough, but yeah, marijuana came in after that. There's basically everything in my past. I've tried pretty much every drug.
So 11 years old, you're just a fifth grader, right? Fifth, sixth grade, something like that. Mm-hmm. What was junior high like for you? Now you get in where kids start to experiment. You kind of hit it a little bit early. Mm-hmm. What was it like in junior high for you and your friends? What drugs were you using?
So junior high was mostly weed. If we could get it, if the older kids had it or whatever, and a little bit of alcohol here and there. But, you couldn't really get it. You're that young,
Like even alcoholics are like, I'm not giving a sixth grader alcohol.
Yeah, for sure.
I got some morals.
For sure. Yeah, you have to steal it or find it somewhere or something like that. So that was kind of what. But then we got into like inhalants and huffing paint, like anything that we could do. Gasoline. That was junior high. those kinds of things.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And that just, I mean, I'm sure most people know, but that's so detrimental to your brain development.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, huffing, inhalants is just, that's just kind of like kicking yourself right in the brain.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, I'm surprised that, do you feel like any of your friend group developed neurological problems going forward?
No, I don't think anything, which is a
You're
miracle.
blowing my theory
you
up
know,
right
I
here.
mean, but there definitely was damage done.
Yeah.
I mean, and if it seemed like that was the goal, you know, was to like do damage and be the one who did the most. And
Talk about fighting a little bit. You said, was that kind of part of the culture too of your friend group?
It was. You know, you punch first. And I relate to Casey. I mean, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a little bit starstruck right now.
Oh, stop it.
Because Casey, you know, but I've listened to you guys. I listen to you guys when I run. And I've heard, you know, some of Casey's story. And it's pretty similar. It's like you punch first, you don't run away, you're there for your friends, you know, and you look for the other kids that are looking for a fight, and you fight those kids.
I mean, I
know?
feel like we are cut from the same cloth. I mean, I really do, and I think that's probably why-
Ogden, Murray.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. We were lovers up in Morgan, not fighters.
There's a lot of horses up there, too. Right? Sheep.
I knew the sheep joke would come out.
Just helping it over the fence. But I think that's, I mean, that was similar to the way I was raised and the way, you know, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was, I mean, but people respected us, though.
Yep.
I mean, we had a lot of respect in school and out of school because of that, because we weren't afraid and because we won or because we would fight and not run, you know?
You're listening to Project Recovery, a podcast about addiction. We're listening to Joel Huff with Pinnacle Recovery. We just talked about the early stages. Coming up, we're going to talk about high school.
A stranger with a gun came upon two teens taking pictures under a rising full moon. But violence is only the beginning of this story.
Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and I've spent my career talking about how lives are undone by violence. The Letter is a podcast about how lives are remade. Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
So now you're in high school. What does high school look like?
High school is hallucinogenics start to come into play, and we did so many hallucinogenics. I went to school on acid for like probably 15 different times. I went to school on acid,
And that didn't seem weird.
I would spend my lunch. I knew the dealer. I would go. I have my $2 for lunch money, and I would give him my $2, and he'd give me some acid, and that was how I started my day in the hallway right there, Murray High.
Wow.
So then let's go to school. Let's go to football practice. The whole day. I didn't miss a beat. I mean, one time there's this really like vivid time where I ate acid in the morning, and then at lunch I went and smoked weed, and then I came back and my teacher called on me to read, and I looked down and it was just like
Gobbledygook.
ants. Not actual ants, but like I could not make any sense of what was on that page, and I was just like, I can't read. I can't read. And the teacher was like, you can read.
You're in 12th
And I was
grade.
just, the fear, I can feel the fear of that moment of just like, I can't read, you know, and then you're hallucinating as well, having an acid trip. So anyway, made it through though. I made it through. I always wanted to play sports. I always loved playing football. So that was something that, and my parents were pretty present in my life. And so, I don't know, they wouldn't let me completely fall off. And I made grades good enough to play sports. And I never dropped out of school or anything.
So you're doing just enough to get by, but you still had fun.
Did they have an idea of what you were up to drug-wise?
Yeah, there were things that came up, but I am a gifted liar and manipulator, and and I can help you believe what you want to believe. You want to believe I'm doing okay. You're my son. I'm your son. You love me. And I can use that, like to help you give me the benefit of the doubt. I can give you all these reasons why it's not true. And also, I feel like because I'm a highly capable person, and because of that, I was able to go a lot further down this road before the wheels came off.
You could make the grades. You could kind of schmooze the teachers and the parents.
Totally.
And so you were able to keep using without, whereas some kids who don't have those skills, because they are skills, they do drop out or they flunk out or they can't make the team because of their grades, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'll say this sometimes we'll get people that I feel like really remind me of me that come through, and at their coin out or whatever, I'll say, your best and worst quality is that you make it seem like you're doing okay. Mm-hmm. Like, please tell people when you're not.
And that's something I struggle with.
Yeah, you're absolutely. There's a lot of similarities between me and you, Casey, because
I don't want to let you know I'm hurting. I want you to think that I'm okay. I want you to, because I'm that's the kind of person that I want to promote, is that, no, I got this. I can figure this out. And you're right. When it fell off my wheels, when my wheels fell off, I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. So, high school, made it through. After football season was over, I did my first play. I wasn't going to go to school for anything. I was going to work construction.
College, you mean?
Yeah.
You weren't going to go
I wasn't going
to
to go to college. I was going to just work construction. That was fine. My grandfather's an electrician. My dad is an MD, actually, but my grandfather's an electrician. I looked at him. He was one of my heroes, and I was like, I'll just do something like that, have a trade, and, get a boat and a house and whatever, and then I'll be good. But
is that what you get for being an electrician? A boat and a house? That sounds
that's
pretty
what my
good to
grandpa
me.
had.
Dang.
Sounds good.
We did the wrong thing, Casey.
I don't know. Yeah, it was a little different in Spanish Fork back then, I think. But anyway, so I did my first play. I ended up doing really well in that. But then I got out, graduated high school, worked one summer, maybe 1 month of construction, and was like, Mom and Dad, I want to go to school. I have decided that education is for me. And then I went to Salt Lake Community College. I didn't even apply to any colleges, so I just went to Salt Lake Community College, got in there and opened it up, and I was like, what am I interested in? I'd never asked myself that. And I took all their acting classes, got into a play, met some people that were at the University of Utah actor training program in that play, and then I found out that was like a nationally ranked program, and that became a goal of mine. And I auditioned and got in, and a scholarship to go to the University of Utah and be in the actor training program. And then that's how acting got me through. Then I got my undergrad degree, and had a purpose and a passion and a reason to live, and a lot of parties available too. But I loved acting so much, it really lit a fire in me, and I was never gonna be drunk in a performance or do it was my priority, and I had some success there. I played Romeo at the U, and played a lot of leads and did that kind of stuff, and then but there was definitely there were some blackouts starting to happen, and I remember just wanting school to be when is school going to be over so I can just be obliterated for
I just want to be an actor.
Yeah.
That's what they do, right?
Yeah. Well, that was part of it for
I was
me,
going to say, don't you think that culture of performance was you perform and give it your all, and then you party hard and it becomes kind of like a family, a really tight-knit group of people off stage. For me, I thought that was a part of it. It was if I party really hard, I'm going to get better roles. That was, and when I later somehow that went together in your head.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you see that happening? Did you see people who could party hard getting the better roles?
I think it was. I think it was probably a false perception on my part, but it did go together. It was I'm an entertainer, and then I would get lit, and it was just I'm going to be the one who makes the whole bar sing the Irish drinking song, or I'm going to get up on the table and do my Bill Cosby impression, or, it was
You don't
always
want to do that
a
one
show.
anymore.
It's really fallen out of favor.
Yeah.
My family still asks for it every now and then, but it's got a different twist on it
Yeah,
these
it
days.
definitely does.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So you made it through college, and you were partying through college, but you were acting, and you were just doing what you thought you were supposed to be doing, I guess?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was a lot of that's when cocaine came in, because I was in the bar scene a lot. In college, I had a friend that worked at Cheers to You. I had a mug with my name on it, Cheers to You. Cocaine was very much a part of that scene. So that was kind of like coke and weed and drinking all the time and credit card debt. That was kind of undergrad. And then undergrad ended, and I did a show at Pioneer, and then I was kind of like here in the Valley, like, what do I do as an actor in Salt Lake City? There's
Touched by an Angel in Hallmark movies.
right, but
Disney Channel.
I was with McCarty, but there wasn't a lot happening, right? But that was also around the time that OxyContin was everywhere. Oxy happened, and people that I knew had it. We had access to it. And then that's when, after school, before I went to grad school, the first time, in between there's about a year and a half that was almost exclusively OxyContin. And that is where I think it really changed the way I drank. Because then, after doing that for a year and a half, over that year and a half, I went and auditioned for grad schools in New York. I got into one, Northern Illinois University, which is outside Chicago, like way outside, like 60 miles west in the corn, in this little town called DeKalb. But they study at the Moscow Art Theater, super cool thing, scholarship, awesome. And when it's time to go to school there, I was just like, well, I'll just detox. I basically detoxed driving with my parents and like my TV, and whatever I had as I was going to grad school, across on my way to school with them. And then I got there and I was just like, I don't have it. I'm cool. I don't need it. But my drinking was really different at that point. It was like I couldn't get drunk enough fast enough or long enough. It was like the switch was unreachable now, and that's where it really kind of changed. But again, I was able to complete graduate school. I did all my roles. And if I wasn't a performance major, that would have been different. Not a whole bunch of papers, maybe like one paper a week, for like the one script lab class in the first year. But then it's largely like memorizing major roles, performing major roles. Like if you're a game time guy, you're gonna nail it. And I was a talented guy, so I had success in grad school too. And again, that just kind of like keeps kicking the can further down the road. And then again, grad school, there's more cocaine towards the end. And then I moved to Chicago after, get an agent, and I'm in a play. It was called Tesla's Letters, and it was huge deal. This company called Timeline Theater Company. It was my first role in the city, and 3/4 of the play comes out of my mouth, and it's just this big role. And I play, this guy named Dragan Milincevic. He's the Tesla's museum curator, I'm Dragan Milincevic. I tell you about Tesla, it's like this whole thing. So it was crazy, grew my hair out, beard out, black hair, and had this dialect and made them laugh, and I cried, and blah, blah. I get nominated for a Jeff Award, which is like the Tonys of Chicago, and then all of a sudden, like, the major theaters in that town are calling, and I ended up doing shows on Navy Pier at Chicago Shakespeare, and then I'm making like actual money, pay my rent money, and I have to be to work at 7 p.m.
That doesn't sound fun.
Well, I mean, it was awesome, but for an alcoholic, it was where it really started to come out. You know, I had every Monday off, and every night, you know, the bars are open. Like they buy your first couple drinks. There's a bar in the theater, big, nice theater. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, Chicago Shakespeare. They'll give you like one or two, kind of like mingle with the crowd and whatever, and that just get me started. And, you know, that was, then everybody goes like sing karaoke or to a bar. Bar closes at 4 a.m, but you can buy liquor at 7-Eleven at 6 a.m. So, you know what I mean? You don't ever have to really
go without.
Yeah. And then all I got to do is put my costume on and say my lines, which I've done, you know, 100 times. And anyway, that's where it really started to kind of, and I'm married at this time, and my wife's starting to kind of like notice and call me out on it, you know, call me out on my blackouts. There were times in Chicago where there was an opening of, I can't remember the name of the play, but Brian Dennehy, you guys know him. He's a big star.
Right, yeah. Tommy Boy.
Yeah, Tommy Boy's dad. He was working at the Goodman, and he liked to drink at our bar. We became friends. He was like opening a show. I ended up going to that show, and he loved this jazz club, Kingston Mines in Chicago, and went out with him, and he was just like, get this kid a scotch, another scotch. You know, it was like, and that after that night, my wife like was crying the next morning because I was asleep halfway in and halfway out of our apartment in Chicago, in the back door to the city of Chicago is open. You know what I mean? It's like pretty unsafe stuff starts happening. She starts to get more scared.
Thanks, Brian Dennehy.
Yeah, really great job.
You're listening to Project Recovery. We're listening to Joel Huff. He's the program director at Pinnacle Recovery. This would be a good time to take a break. Make sure you join us on part 2 to find out how this ends.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.